Hey gang, I got something for you. We all know email marketing is one of the few activities that directly leads to sales for our businesses. I love sending messages to my list and watching the responses, leads, and sales come in day and night. But email marketing has been beaten and bruised by a lot of shady marketers over the years. That's why I listen to a podcast called The Email Marketing Show. Rob and Kennedy teach psychology-based email marketing in a way that is enjoyable for you and your subscribers, making email valuable and extremely effective. The show is fun, no matter what your email savviness might be. Subscribe by searching for the Email Marketing Show wherever you get your podcasts or visit emailmarketingheroes.com. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's got the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. Today I am honored to have Tom Burton, the author of The Revenue Zone and the co-founder and CEO of LeadSmart Technologies, which is, if I understand it correctly, is an advanced visual CRM content
Yeah,
customer relationship manager.
yeah, I would call it a next generation CRM tool for companies that are not ultra techy and have tons of technical resources, but they want to get something up and running quickly that's going to be used by their sales team. That's what
That's
LeadSmart
going to
has
be
been for.
used. It's the key. It's the key.
Yeah, adopted
Yeah.
is the key word, right? That's the key word.
I know how many CRMs I've spun up in the past, and I'm like, I'm not using it anymore. I'm just using Evernote.
Yeah,
But I'm a
yeah,
small operation, so it's not that big of a deal. But I know a lot of companies are like, to their salespeople are like, stop using Post-it notes.
yeah.
Post-it notes
Or
are
spreadsheets.
analog.
Yeah, or
Oh my
spreadsheets.
God.
Yeah.
Excel's good for some stuff, not for keeping track of your leads.
And it's super insecure too. So
That's
people are very concerned about security and keeping track of all of that. And Excel and Google Docs is not your best
no,
security strategy either. So
it's good for what it's good for, and
that's right.
it's not good for other stuff that shouldn't be it for that. So how did you get started in all this? And we'll get into the revenue zone, which is what I really want to talk to you about. But how did you get into the whole software as a service, SaaS industry stuff as an entrepreneur?
Well, I'm a tech guy. I have a degree in computer science. I've been in software companies my whole career. I've had several software companies, sold a company to Intuit a few years ago. So I've been
Oh,
around this. I've been around the
Mailchimp,
SaaS space.
is it Mailchimp amounts?
No, not quite. Not quite.
That one we were all kind of like our mouths dropped when Mailchimp was purchased for what, 20 billion or something, like insane
Yeah,
amount
we
of
only
money.
got 19.5 billion. So it's kind of a
Oh,
screwy deal.
shucks.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah. Um,
That's awesome. So you sold something into it.
yeah. So my career has kind of moved from software, and then in my software company, I do consulting for a while. I had a digital agency for a period of time. I really got into digital marketing and everything with
That's
that.
fun.
And then I kind of got the software bug a couple of years ago, which is where LeadSmart came into play. So
That's
long
wild.
background.
That's
Yeah.
wild. And then during all this, as if you didn't have enough to do, you decided to write a book, which is more of a framework. It's in the form of a book, but it's more than a book. It's a way of thinking, right? It's a way of close down
Yeah.
revenue
So,
zone.
really there were two things, right? When we started really going with LeadSmart as a CRM company, we were talking to our prospects, which were sales organizations, and listening to the challenges that they had. Clearly, it became clear to me that B2B sales and marketing was really broken. And then I combined that with my own experience. And I think you may have seen this in the book, right? I was talking about, I was in this board meeting and the board member was like, "How confident do you feel about your projections?" I was like,
I love it.
I don't know if I really do feel all that. And that was new to me. I've been in business for 30 years and I know how to go into board meetings. I know how to be prepared. But when he asked that question, it was just like a punch in the stomach.
Oh,
And I think that also told me that not only B2B sales and marketing in general was broken, but my sales process and our sales process was broken. So
yeah.
those two things together were the catalyst to really get me off my butt and do the research and the homework that led to the book and the revenue zone from there. So that's the backstory of how it got created.
Oh, I'm reading it right now currently, and I'm really enjoying it. It's one of these books that it's an easy read. It's easy to digest. It's not too technical per se, but it's technical enough. And what I do appreciate is you put bullet points at the end of the chapter, because by the time I get to the end of the chapter, I forget what was at the beginning of the chapter. So I love business books that have like, and then you do one more, you do discussion topics. So you really went for the stars on this. I really appreciate that, because when I want to go back and reread the book, I go back to the bullet points. Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay. Go back to my notes and stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to make it personally because I actually am a person who likes to read a hard copy of a book, or if nothing else, a Kindle, even more than audio. So I wanted
Yeah.
it to make it easy to highlight and go back and look at things. And as you see, as you'll move on the book, and especially in chapters 4 and 5, it's very practical. It's a very hands-on process of how you do this. It's one thing
I
to
love
talk
that.
about the problem, but it's another to say, here's your cookbook for how to actually deal with the problem. So
There's so many business books out there that are so high level because they're trying to get you to be a consulting client. Which I'm sure you wouldn't mind if someone said, "Hey, Tom, I'd love it if you help us implement this." But that's what I like so far is that it looks like you're gonna just spell it out and help. And I like that when it's not like, here's a little bit. You spent $19 on this book, but I'm not gonna give you everything. It's like, what?
yeah, it's interesting because when we were having editors and people looking at it, there was talk of, oh, there's too much detail here. You're going too deep. And I overrode them in a couple of cases because I want a book that is actionable. And it may not have every answer that you could do, but you can move down the road. And one thing you'll see is we built quite a resource center with some tools and other things you
I
can
saw that.
download as you're going through. So again, it's a system that you can implement, hopefully, or make a really, really good dent, entirely on your own.
We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
LinkedIn believes B2B marketing can be B2 brilliant, B2 bold, and B2 breakthrough. How? With a platform purpose built to make B2B marketing mean more for your business. A platform with tools to help you build better relationships with your key customers, to boost your buyer's journey while building your brand. A platform with trusted data and lead generation you need to beat your KPIs, drive ROI, and stand out amongst the competition. And with the targeting tools on LinkedIn, you can reach your precise audience right down to their job title, company name, location, and more to make sure your ads are always seen by those who matter. So let's get ready to be too boldly go where no marketer has gone before, because LinkedIn is where B2B is everything it can be. Rethink your B2B marketing ads and get $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Yeah, I'm excited to do it because, the digital agency Goldstein Media is kind of funds this little enterprise of
Okay.
podcasting fun and zaniness. And I'm always looking for new ways to figure out how I'm going to bring more revenue in and all that good stuff. So that's really exciting. So, Tom, since you've been an entrepreneur for a while, what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur? I like to ask people that.
For me, I love the idea of seeing a problem and then working out the vision and the strategy for solving the problem. It's too bad I couldn't just stop right there and everything else would just work on its own and I would be happy. But then you
Yeah,
actually have to implement that in the real world and build the organization. But what I really enjoy is taking a problem, a situation, distilling it down, building the right strategy, and then figuring out, okay, what's the right solution for that? And that's always been my successful actions as it relates to starting companies and having them grow.
oh, that's fantastic. Now, what's also the scariest thing for you at being an entrepreneur?
The scariest thing, right, is always going from that nothing to something.
Mhm.
It's always easier to go from something to something better. But when you're starting something out and you have no customers, you have no money, you have no anything, right? The fun part of it is you can mold that and you can create it. That's the plus part of it. But the scary part is you're starting from nothing.
Mhm.
And what I've learned even over the years is, you obviously have people that you've worked with before and you have other relationships, but you're still starting from nothing in that business and you have to take it to something. And that can be scary.
Yeah, I've always found that to be terrifying, almost in a healthy way. Like it's almost like a roller coaster, terrifying. Whereas
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
put yourself into that terrifying situation
Yeah.
because you want to get that feeling
Yeah.
to kind of get everything moving that way versus terrifying, like you didn't put yourself in that situation and you're freaking out. It's a different kind of terrified, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
No, it's a self-created adrenaline. Let's put it that way. It's
Adrenaline, that's better word than
right.
terrified. So what is the most important thing you carry with you all the time? Give you anything.
So I think for me, it's a passion to improve situations, right? And change situations. And it gets me into trouble at the same time. But the book is a great example of that, is that a lot of people have said, man, why are you trying to, the subtitle of the book is The Ultimate Playbook for the Next Generation of Sales, Marketing, and Predictable Revenue Growth. It's like, why do you want to go mess with that? Why do you want to go, take on something like that? There's tons of sales books out there. There's tons of people talking about sales and marketing. I just have a passion to, when I see something that's not quite the way that it could be, then, and I feel like there's something that can be done about it, then that's, like I said, probably a positive and a negative because it can sometimes get me into trouble, but it's just who it is.
But it's a true entrepreneur. It's finding an issue or finding something that needs to be fixed and not finding that it's done anywhere or it's not done well anywhere. And just saying, heck with it, I'm gonna do it. And
Yeah.
if it flops, it flops. If it doesn't flop, you got something.
Yeah. And even if the change, and as you'll see in the book, right, the changes that I'm proposing is a bit radical compared to what the traditional B2B sales and marketing process is. But we're in a different world, right? And sometimes you need to make radical changes to get radical results.
Yeah. It's
And,
another thing I like about the book is that it's current. You address COVID-19. And I feel like there's a dividing line with books now where it's like if they were just like there's one called Retail Relevancy. It's put out by a good friend of mine, Ted Rubin, and his friend John Andrews. They started writing it in 2016, and by the time they got around to finishing it, it was past the pandemic. They had to rewrite half the book
yeah.
because the whole book is like the whole idea of retail changed,
Mhm.
relevancy changed, and they actually worked faster because there's something to write about. There's something more to write about. And I appreciate good business books that are current, or they have a second version coming out really fast saying, hey, we're addressing the COVID thing. Here's the chapters that, you're not going to have in the first version, updating you on stuff. And I really appreciate that. I saw COVID-19. I'm like, he's addressing that. It's not something that he's just ignoring. It's an ever-present thing.
Yeah. The things that were broken, right? When I said sales and marketing were broken, B2B, the things were broken before COVID. They just got amplified and spotlighted even more through the COVID process. And so you come out the other end of that, and you probably remember the book is like, even I knew quite a few companies that their entire lead generation strategy was going to live shows and doing live
Exactly.
events. And it's not that live events are going away, but they're not as frequent. There's more of a digital first mentality, right? And so you have to look at the world a bit differently than you did pre-COVID. But the problem was there before COVID. It just got really amplified during
You
COVID.
saw it more. You saw a lot of
Yeah.
things that were broken and needed to be fixed. Like the whole come back into the workplace thing is different because wait, we can do this from home. We can do this from a co-working space. I don't have to drive 45 minutes to an hour to work. Some people had to drive 2 hours to work because that's where the job was. Now they can say, I'll come in twice a week. I feel like the teams are going to go more hybrid and they're going to go all remote. But I think companies, if they want to keep people, are going to say, all right, 3 days a week, you pick your days. Come in. I'll make sure one of them is Wednesday because we're gonna have all staff meeting that day. So things have changed.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hybrid, but you also have a lot of people that were working in an area or in an office, and they were given permission, so to speak, to move anywhere they want during
Yeah, it's
COVID.
a little different. Yeah.
And this is something also that if you built your whole sales and around in-person meetings, I've had several recently just, oh yeah, come in for an in-person meeting, but there's only going to be 2 people in the office and 4 people are going to be on Zoom because they're living in a different location or
So talk
whatever it
about
is.
hybrid. Talk about
Talk about
hybrid.
hybrid. Right. Right. So
That's
how do you
really
deal
hybrid.
with that? Right. Because everyone, oh, I want to do an in-person meeting. Then you can really build the relationship. Well, that's fine, but 3/4 of the people are not in the meeting. So
Yeah,
how do you deal with that?
yeah. I think things are gonna. I think we don't have the answers yet. I mean, we're in an endemic and then a pandemic anymore, but I
Hmm.
think it's gonna be here forever. It's just gonna be like the common flu,
Hmm.
and it's just, oh, you got COVID. Oh, that sucks. All right, I'll see you in 7 days. Like that kind of, because you don't want to see anyone with, I mean, everyone's like, oh, that's terrible. And I'm like, well, the flu sticks around for 5 days. And you
Yep.
don't want to see them while they're in the throes of the flu either.
Yeah.
It's this is more current, and people are thinking, all right, this is worse. No, the flu sucks just as bad. It can be really bad. So between LeadSmart and the revenue book zone, you're keeping very busy. I mean, I guess you do a lot of public speaking as well, right?
I've been doing more. So, this is
Yeah.
an area also that I'm really learning a lot about, is just the whole digital influence and the online world. And as I talked about in another podcast I was on a week or so ago, I've had LinkedIn connections and followers for a long time, but they were what I call my friends and family, right? They were business colleagues, people I've worked with.
People
It was
yeah.
people I know, right? And when you launch the book, you realize, okay, well, there's a few friends and family that are going to want your book, but probably not, not
You're gonna
millions.
find it out of sympathy. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And so then I really had to take a look at how do I start really building my online presence and my online network. And I'm just
Yeah.
starting with that. I'm just really learning with that. And
Fun. It's fun.
it's fun.
I did LinkedIn backwards where I did it. It was an open network for a while. I accepted everybody. I got LinkedIn ticked off at me for like 3 months where they had made me give everyone's email addresses to do anything. I had to apologize and say, please, I will not do that again. And then they go quell everyone that I had no idea who I know. And it's worked. I like how you're starting from the beginning here. You're saying, I got my friends and family, let me do it smart and get the right people in my network versus mine. I'm kind of going inside out. So
Yeah, no, and I think that is the right strategy, that if you put the right people in your network,
yeah,
then when you post something, those are the people that want to hear from you. They're the people who are going to engage with your post there. And then you
yes.
can start to really hockey stick your reach and your set of connections by doing
Yeah.
it that way, versus having a bunch of people who don't give a crap about what you're really talking about.
Or they'll just do the thumbs up like, that's
Yeah.
good, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
And no
Yeah.
engagement. You're like, gee, thanks. 15 people liked my post, but no one said anything. It's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Exactly.
Tom, let's say people want to find out more about the revenue zone. Where would they go to see that?
Well, there's a website called the revenuezone.com, and that's where there's information about the book. And then, of course, you can go right to Amazon. Amazon has the book, plus it has the audiobook. So the audiobook just
No,
came
I
out
was very impressed.
a
Yeah,
couple
I
of
was like,
weeks
"Ooh."
ago.
I didn't
And
pick up the audiobook because a lot of times I'll pick up the audiobook so I can read and listen at the same time. But I'm like, this seems like a book I could just read and sink my teeth into, you know? Sometimes the audiobook takes over and you forget to read the book, and it's like you miss stuff.
yeah, no, I sometimes will get the audiobook because I like to listen to my car or something when I'm
Yeah.
driving, and then I can go back and highlight the book or the Kindle book or whatever. But anyway, the audiobook is there for.
Yeah.
We got a really good narrator, and the important thing, it sounds good at 1.5 speed. That was the other thing
Well,
I learned
that's good,
about
yeah.
building an audiobook, is how do you do it in a way that it sounds good at faster speeds?
Yeah, and
So,
it still sounds good at 1, but it sounds
right,
better at 1.5 1 at
right,
1.5.
right, which is something I never thought about until I went through this, you know.
You know? Always learning.
So Amazon has all of that, plus and the links are all there on the revenuezone.com website as well.
And then where can people find LeadSmart Technologies if they wanna get a CRM that works?
LeadSmartTech.com. So
Okay, great.
LeadSmartTech.com. And reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm
Yeah.
tburton5350. Like I said, I'm really working on trying to build up my relationships and network, and not because I'm trying to sell stuff. Like I said, I'm just trying to get the right people in the right network. That's what it's all about.
Tom, this has been so much fun. I know we planned on talking first and then doing a recording later. And I was like, let's just do the podcast. Let's just do it. So,
Yeah.
Tom, this has been great. And we will see everyone next week.
Thanks, Seth. Appreciate it.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Theme Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
Greetings, you marketing podcast junkies. This is Tim Hines, the host of the Marketing Starter podcast on MPN. On the show, I sit down with marketing thought leaders and pioneers from around the world and unpack how they use an entrepreneurial spirit to excel in all that they do. So tune in on your favorite podcasting platform every other week to find new ways of kickstarting your marketing career.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.